Welcome to day 30 of 30 in 30 challenge, 30 days, 30 videos. This is Sandy Herrick with Ignite Best Practices. The last of the videos, I'm going to do a little hybrid of Prepare Enrich and either Autism Informed Couples Relationship Coaching or Autism Informed Family Relationship Coaching. As I explained yesterday, I use the Prepare Enrich model, which I am a certified facilitator, in order to provide the relationship coaching services to couples. But I also am able to do it autism informed. And there is a part of it that I mentioned yesterday called closeness and flexibility couples and family and couples maps. And what that is that we look at to the individual's family of origin and how it is the map created, where does it lead when it comes to issues of flexibility and closeness. And also what's happening in the relationships as far as that closeness and flexibility maps towards each other, right? So the premise is that individuals either recreate what they have experienced in their families of origin, or they reject it and they go away from that. And that is from the Prepare Enrich website, the way that there's a blog in there and explains it in these exact terms. What they're talking about here, it's attachment styles. And that's not the conversation today, but depending on the theory that you're reading, you're going to hear things of secure attachment styles, which is what we're thriving for, or anxious, preoccupied, ambiguous, disengaged, whatnot. So it's not linear, because a person who has an attachment of anxious, preoccupied, let's say, doesn't necessarily reject it. They might even recreate it because there's some anxieties there and some needs that were not met, and they're trying to do it, or they may completely reject it. So the maps is very important, because knowing the person's attachment style doesn't tell you a whole lot about how they're acting it out in their couples. So it has to be blended together, and that's the nice thing about that Prepare Enrich assessment. But this is really targeted at when we have a family with an autism spectrum disorder and a child. This will be just for the parents, and where we're looking into that. When the individual is an adult, then we're looking at his or her parents. Okay, so moving it forward, people use these maps to help them navigate, other maps, through various stages of life, milestones, transitions, losses, whether they're symbolic or actual, about tangibles or actual people in our lives, medical conditions. And autism spectrum disorder will be perhaps touching all of those areas that I just mentioned. So the autism informed either couples coaching or family coaching aims at looking into that flexibility, closeness. How is it impacting the relationship? What really happens now? The premise in here with autism is, and let me expand on that, that there is this gap, and this relationship coaching that is autism informed aims to bridge it, just like in the couple's relationship, whatever conflicts, we're trying to bridge these gaps. But autism has a very specific to autism gap, and it's often delineated or created, whatever you want to call it, by the parents usually going for behavior management, and they're settling for the behavior outcome, right? And they leads to sometimes over accommodation. So the biggest example is, especially when there's rulemaking situation going on by the person with the diagnosis, this kind of mix up between their necessity for this rulemaking in order to navigate, and then the parents just over relying on overcompensation. Instead of the individual having a relationship with his or her parents, they're having a relationship with the items that are being used in this overcompensation, or the results. But there's no meaning making, and this impairs the relationship, and it impairs that attachment, secure attachment style that we're trying to go for. People grow intellectually and socially. There's emotional, social intelligence as well. not just their intellectual, in the context of the security and safety and reliance they have on these relationships. And autism spectrum disorder has a gap that is very specific to the phenomenon of the autism. And so the services use this mapping also to inform what direction we're going to take, because maybe we have to work with the parental figures first to reconsider these maps towards closeness and flexibility. So closeness is about emotional bonding, and flexibility is about change. And we all know how difficult change is already for all of us. Add to that the challenges of managing or navigating through changes due to an autism spectrum disorder. But this is not just for the individual with the diagnosis, it's also for the family who's also navigating along. So the changes are very specifically looked at in the areas of leadership. Do we have a person that is overly dominant in the family? And who is it? And can we switch? Are we looking at relationship roles? No, because that's mom's job, or that's, the kids are only supposed to be doing this, and father does this. It doesn't matter, right? So do we have this? Are we flexible, or are we not flexible about these roles in the relationship? And also about rules of the relationship. And this, just on a neurotypical couple or neurotypical family with children, rules, of the relationship exist. It's just that autism spectrum disorder brings in a new challenge, and it is that the individual with the disorder tends to over rely on this rule making to navigate through changes and even closeness with people. And that is to say, well, if that person does that, I do this. I was listening to a podcast that was done by I forget the name. Please, I apologize. I'm not trying to. I want to give it credit, and I'll write it at the bottom. But this lady was talking about a student she had, or maybe it was. Anyway, the person thought that if she memorized the addresses and knew the color of the house of the peers in school, that would make her be friends with them. And another example that was given on the RDI book by Dr. Stephen Gustin was of a student that said that if I study this many hours, I should get an A. And she was trying to challenge her bad grade with the teacher because she had studied that many hours and she deserved the A. Well, that was okay for, sorry about the shaky. That was okay for things that were static learning, but when it came something where critical thinking was involved and the person had to use, negotiate thoughts and things like that to create concepts, that wasn't working. So the number of hours was irrelevant if the information couldn't be manipulated and managed and explained or expressed. So the relationship coaching for autism informed services has the specificities that is dealing with the challenges of this neurodiversity. This helps the families re-engage and creates a co-regulation relationship. And also it starts with, a leader and a follower, right? So, and autism kind of breaks that away. So we help it reestablish, and then the co-regulation happens, and how they work through these flexibilities, and so they can create that closeness and get new maps, better maps. So I hope you have found this informative. Please give me an email or check out my website or send me a text. Thank you for the questions that you have asked. I have a lot of material to put together into other projects that I hope to evolve. And this is an example that if you set your mind to do something for 30 days, you can do it. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to get done. So get your challenge on and get it done. Health and light, everybody. Bye-bye.